But welcome everyone. My name is Johnette Cape. I'm the founder of the Social Light Production. Thank you so much for joining us on this evening. You know, I'm excited to be back. July was a busy month with back-to-back conversations with the LIB Perspectives Conversation Series. Took a little break. Now we're coming to you with Identity Crisis. Not necessarily a series, or it may be, who knows how it goes, but we'll get into what this is about shortly. But I do want to pause real quick as I do before all of my conversations and say a quick prayer. So, Father God, we just thank you, we praise you, we love you, we adore you, we honor you. Thank you for breath, thank you for life, thank you for good health. Thank you for this platform where stories are going to be told, continue to be told and shared, and where lives are going to be changed. Now, as I say every time in every conversation, I pray that we all will hear you over the person that's speaking, that you will speak directly to our hearts and minds. And God, bring perspective, bring conviction, bring vision, strategy, revelation, peace, comfort, whatever emotion, whatever the need, God. And cover the atmosphere. It is thundering. Pray that technology will stay intact. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. So I see people are still filtering in. Welcome. You have reached a Social Light Production. Obviously, you know that because you clicked on the link. But real quick, for those who are new to the platform and maybe new to me, you may not know me, you may be joining due to Wilma, our guest for today. Like I said, my name is Johnette Cape with the Social Light Production. Our mission is connecting the world through faith, culture, and entertainment. So tonight we're touching on the faith bucket. Although we're talking about identity crisis, it's linked to faith. And as we talk, it will make more sense. But with the Social Light Production, it's a business, but it's also a platform. And with the platform, the goal is to storytell, have conversations. There's a lot of issues, there's a lot of problems. And instead of waiting on someone else to do it, I'm doing it, right? According to what I feel is important. And so you can follow us. I'll share all the other details at the end, but I just kind of wanted to give you a quick overview in case you're kind of wondering what this is about. But as I mentioned, today, this evening, we're speaking about identity crisis. And so this topic came about because we were having just general conversation, we meaning my younger sister and I, just about people don't know who they are. Right. And it's kind of sad because people are acting in identities that don't belong to them, or that's not their purpose. Right.
That's good.
So, I'm gonna pause there because I feel like I'm about to go into it. That's just like a quick intro. And
that's good.
But before we go all the way into it, I want to introduce not our host, excuse me, our guest. I'm the host. But with our guest tonight, it's Wilma Parker, and she happens to be my cousin. And so I want to give you a little overview of who Wilma is before we get started. So I'll do a quick bio my way. So first, a lot of times when people ask, who are you? Introduce yourself. People tend to go to what you do. What you do is not your identity. What you do is what you do, right? Mm-hmm. Who are you? So I, from my lens, will describe Wilma as a big troublemaker. I mean, she is just, I don't even know why.
We're not doing that.
I did that for Clay. I did that for her husband. If he's watching, I got your back. Anyway, all jokes aside, Wilma, and just in case I call her Gito, that is her other one of her names as well. But her formal name is Wilma. But she is a virtuous woman. And I know a lot of people put that tag on their name and it really doesn't belong. It really belongs to her. She's been a virtual woman since we were kids. She's been a woman since we were kids, but she has strong faith. My late mother used to say it all the time. And not only did she encourage and inspire me, she encouraged and she inspired my mother in reference to her faith. And I'm looking because I don't want to miss anything here. And I think it's important for me to call these things out because as we talk about identity and she talks about her journey, although she are these things, it has not always been easy to play the role, like to uphold the standard that God has called her to, right? but she's filled with a lot of wisdom, with a lot of love, with a lot of fun, and she draws people to her because of her spirit. Quality and authentic is another term that I'll use to describe her. And I'm just happy to have her in my circle of influence, and especially to call her family. Don't get used to it. That's the only time you're going to hear me say all that about you.
Oh, Lord, I'm glad this recorded. Got the
evidence. But anyway, yeah, that's enough of that. But as far as what she does, just a little bit about what she does, or where she resides. She resides in China Grove, North Carolina. She is married to my awesome / crazy in a fun way, Clay Parker. She has 3 beautiful young men, Simeon, who's 13, Joshua, who's 10, and Josiah, who is 7. Her husband is the pastor of, let me make sure I get this right, Flint Ridge East Baptist Church in Marshfield, North Carolina. And so that makes Wilma a first lady, but she doesn't like to use that. She does not like to use that title. So I call her that to annoy her. There's nothing wrong. Let me just be clear.
Yeah.
With being called first lady, if that's your desired title for those who are first ladies. She just does not like it. She prefers to be called leader or servant of God, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
And she's an unofficial and official mentor to many. And then lastly, she has a fairly new, I won't call it new because this is something she's been doing pretty much all her life. It's just now official, a platform called Kingdom Huddle, in which we will get into this a little later, but it's all tied into what we're going to be speaking about today. So that's enough about Wilma. We are going to go ahead and get started. Mrs. Parker, Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Is there anything you'd like to add or say before we get started?
Thank you all for joining in. As my cousin stated, you may not be a person of faith or believe in God, but I'm telling you, there's going to be value in this conversation that will land someplace. So definitely tune in, share it. You still have time to share with your friends and family members, but this is going to be good. I'm excited.
I think so too. And just to call out, if you guys keep seeing me look down, I'm just trying to follow the chat because I don't necessarily have an official assistant. So when we have Q&A, not Q&A, excuse me, let me just give the structure. I'm not going to stop for an official Q&A. Just going to kind of monitor it and insert it where we can. If I don't get to your question, I am so sorry, but we will answer it at another time if that's okay with you guys. But just want to put that out there. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. So we're going to get started. Like I said, my younger sister and I was talking about identity, and then identity crisis came to mind as we were talking about identity and just the various behaviors that we've been seeing and feeling. But not only people who don't know themselves, who are acting out of character, even those who do know ourselves, but it's a different season. So it's kind of like, okay, how do I shift, right? So this conversation is getting on everyone, not just those who are quote unquote lost. And so when I think about identity crisis, many things can come to mind, but I'm just curious, Wilma, tell them or talk about what comes to mind when you think about identity crisis.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad the way that you phrased it, because a lot of times when people hear identity crisis, they automatically think about, they're confused about their sexuality or confused about, what gender role are they playing. But it's so broad and it's so many people that deals with this, because guess what? We live in a society that's constantly shifting and changing. Yes. So there will be crisis when change happens. Yes. But I looked up the definition of identity, and it states that identity is the fact of being who or what a person or a thing is. So that definition right there, for me, I had to go back, because how am I supposed to know who or what I am as a Christian, as a Christ follower, as a believer? It's always back to God. He is the source. So how am I supposed to be a created being and then try to figure out what I'm supposed to be without going to the creator? So that's why we said faith is tied into your identity. At least for us, it is.
Yes.
Definitely is. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's really good. And I think that's what, not I think, but well, I think it's my opinion. I think that's why many are lost, including believers, because go back to ourselves or to our friends or to our cousins and mentors for answers, in which what they're saying may be absolutely true according to their opinion, in which our opinions are flawed if it doesn't align to what God has for us. So I think
Exactly.
I think that's a good call out, and it's a good segue into the discussion of faith. Now,
Yes.
we're not going to spend the whole time speaking about faith itself, but I feel it's important. I know she touched it on the beginning, but as it relates to what we believe, because we're going to say God through this, we may say Jesus. But when we're referring to God, we're referring to Jesus. My faith is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ,
Yes.
also known as God, also known as Father, Daddy, my dog, whatever you want to name it.
That's it.
That's who it is.
It's personal.
It's personal. And so if you're not a believer, there's no judgment. You can still belong. You can still come. And I will hope that you will still continue to watch this, because I promise you will gain some type of perspective. We're not trying to sit here and say you need to conform over, but we just want you to understand the foundation and the context of where we're coming from. And so do you want to have anything to add to that before I go on?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well.
Okay.
Definitely, because I think we live in a society where we have to define what it is that we do believe, because everybody who says, I believe in God, wait a minute, what God do you believe in? Because I believe in Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. I believe in the Trinity, so I'm glad that you broke it down, because I want people to be very clear on what we're talking about. So.
Okay. And so I want to park here just for a moment, though, to kind of paint the picture, especially from our perspective. So right now, we're just sharing our perspectives, our path, our journey, right? And so when you speak about identity and how I found my identity, it's taken years and seasons and experiences and counsel and fall and highs and all of that. But my younger sister Tanya did she actually did 2 or 3 different presentations on a topic called Christ over culture. And pretty much that's tied to your identity, right? What do you believe? Who do you believe in? And I believe at the end of that presentation, she asked us 3 questions. The first one was, what do you believe? What were you created to do?
Yes.
And who are you? I'm gonna say it one more time. What do you believe? Like we're in church.
Write it down.
What were you created to do? And who are you? And while, that may seem simple, like, oh, I know who I am, a lot of people could not answer it in a clear and succinct way. And I was one of those when she first did that presentation in my life group a couple of years ago and challenged us with those questions. And while we were talking, it wasn't really clear and it wasn't really assured as far as what we believe.
Right.
And not so much for us to understand, but even others. So it's kind of like your elevator speech. You're in the elevator talking whatever, but then you're all over the place. I'm sorry. Okay, so what do you believe? Who are you? Not what you do, but who are you?
Right.
So I want to touch on that. And Wilma, I guess I'll give you the floor in reference to those questions, or however you want to break it down. What do you believe?
Okay. So at the core of me, I believe, and this is not just me being cliche or quoting scriptures, but I truly believe that if I seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, that all things will be added onto me. I truly believe that, because what that means to me then is the fact that I'm not pursuing God for his blessings. I'm pursuing him for him. So all of this platform and everything that we're going to talk about, what God is doing in our lives and through our lives, is a byproduct of being in relationship with God. So I'm not running for the byproduct and say, oh, yeah. No. I want God. That's it. I want God. I want his presence. So that's what I truly believe, that if I seek his presence, his righteousness, meaning what he deemed as right, not what I deem as right. Everything else I need will be added in the time that I need it. So that's what I believe.
That's it. You know, you kind of like
Yeah.
it with a T. I mean, it's
Right.
really nothing else to add. I mean, I can add to it, but it will be similar. So then when you
Right.
talk about what were you created to do, that's a hard question. It's no longer hard for me though, because I've put it now in the right perspective. You know, that presentation that Tanya gave, it was really a game changer in reference to how I view purpose and how I view my life in each
Right.
stage of my life. But when you're talking about what were you created to do, people think it's just
Mhm.
one thing or one big thing or get married
Mhm.
or do this or do
Mhm.
that. How do you define that? Or, you know, what were you created to do if you want to share that?
Yeah, I want to answer that, but I'm curious to find out what your answer is to that as
Oh,
well.
well,
I would like your input in that. You
okay.
know, if you want to go first, and then I'll go.
Okay.
But I definitely, want to hear what you say.
Okay, I had a longer write up on that from my bio, but I had to cut it short, right? Because you speak about elevator speeches. People don't want to hear no big long sermon. What were you created to do? Get it out, right?
Right.
And so to sum it up, and whether this sounds corny or not, I know you're like, we just share already.
Right.
To sum it up, I was created to shine his light, his meaning God, his light bright before the world to see him through me. Period.
Hmm.
And what's interesting is my mother spoke this over me years ago when I was a senior in high school. My family purchased an ad in my debutante book. I was a Delta debutante. And so she put in there, Janet, you are a special child, a special light. Let your light shine bright among the world to see so that they can glorify your Father in heaven. I saw that, and of course, I was just more hyped that she bought a page and I could see, you know, I didn't even connect it until years later. Actually, again, my sister pointed it out to me. I was like, And so, by no surprise, my company is named A Social Light Production.
Hmm.
So what that means is whatever I do, whoever I do it with, just make sure his light shines. And so, you know, people call me an influencer, they call me an encourager, you know, whatever positive name they call me, it's his light. Now, that's a big responsibility because that means I got to walk straight.
Yes, Lord.
But I can't
Yes,
shine that
Lord.
other light. That other light be trying to get through.
Hey, what? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think mine is somewhat similar to yours in the sense that I truly believe that I was created to make the name of God great and not my name. I was created to be effective, not busy. So in order to be effective, I have to understand what my purpose is, because the reason why I stated it that way is the fact that Jenny, can you still hear me? Because it looks like you're frozen on my end. I don't know if I'm frozen.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all righty. All right. Okay, there you go. All right. So the reason why I phrased it like that is because when I think about, once again, I am a person of faith, so I'm going to be referring to the Bible and Jesus. When I think about Jesus, Jesus never reached his full potential, but he did fulfill his purpose.
Yep.
There's a difference. He could have done so many great things and he could have, changed so many lives, but he lived every day on purpose because he was effective.
Yes.
That's what I want to do.
Yep.
I want to be effective. I was created to be effective, not busy.
Yep. I mean, that's it. I'm sorry that you're going to add more, but that sums it up.
Yeah.
That sums it up. You know, a lot of people, speak about grinding and seeing no sleep and all of this. And yes, grind, right? But make sure you're grinding because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Make sure you're doing all these things because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Because sometimes you'll do all this stuff and you're not even effective. And while you think
but also,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add to it is the reason why people say I'm on my hustle, I'm on my grind, is because they're pursuing success and they confuse success with purpose. Success and purpose are two different things.
Yes.
You can be successful and you can do some great things without God, but you cannot do God's will without God. So purpose is what you pursue, not success.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've been guilty of pursuing things because it looked good or it fit within my strategy. But are you being effective? Yeah, maybe, but not according to the purpose that God has for you. So that
Right.
is the call out that I think a lot of people need to see and recognize. So the third question is, who are you?
Who are
Who
you?
are you, Wilma?
I'm a mother, I'm a wife, no, I'm not talking about your title, sis. Who are you? Okay. So I am a nurturer. That's what I see myself as. And I looked up the definition of nurturer, because when God told me, like, once again, I found my identity through God, and he told me, you're a nurturer. And this is the definition of nurturer. It says the process of caring for and encouraging the growth or development of someone or something.
Yes.
So being a nurturer doesn't mean that I have to give birth to you to nurture you. I'm a nurturer. I can nurture in someone from work. I can nurture someone from church. I can nurture someone who's older than me, who's younger than me. Nurturing is about just helping that person grow.
Absolutely.
Just developing them, just loving on them. So that's who I am. I am a nurturer.
Well, mine is a few things. And one, excuse me, I am chosen, I am free, I am secure. Again, I got that from Tanya, Christ Over Culture. Really, I guess that's a plug. I need to go and check that out, because when you know that you've been chosen, when you know that you are free,
right.
When you are secure, you can do whatever and truly not care. Truly not care.
Not at all.
I am a masterpiece. I am an ambassador. Ambassadors are very important people who are on assignment, you know, and so that means I'm walking in purpose, whether it looks pretty or not, whether it makes sense or not. Lastly, I am life, and I choose to live it abundantly. I don't care what the season is.
Amen. Amen.
You'll be surprised of some of the seasons I've been through because of how I've walked through them. Because I've walked through them because I knew that was a part of my assignment. And it wasn't me walking, it was God carrying me.
That's good.
I am so serious.
Good.
I know a lot of people say that, but they don't really rock it. But that's another Facebook Live.
I know, right?
It's mind-blowing when you know you are chosen, when you know that, when you feel free and when you feel secure, because you can identify that. Not saying that every time you'll be confident, but that's why you have the Wilmas and the Frankies and the Tanyas and all the other cousins and spiritual connections, because they help you. They help to lift you back up. I'm sorry, I got in the space right there, but
I don't think you need to apologize. I really don't. I don't think you need to apologize. I think that was worth stating.
Yeah, but before we go on, I just want to mention something, because when we were speaking earlier this week, you touched on religion versus relationship. And a lot of people are following religion, and that's why they can't feel that power to walk, you know, in relationship with them. Can you break that down, your perspective on that you mentioned earlier this week?
Definitely, because I believe that Jesus was never religious. He really wasn't a religious man. He came for relationship. And the reason why I believe that with COVID coming, it seemed like the church is in an identity crisis. It seems like a lot of people have just pretty much ran away from the church. It's like, oh, I'm free now. And the reason why they don't feel like a desire to be connected to church is because they never was connected to relationship. They were connected to a building. That's what religion does. Religion is everything outside. Relationship is everything inward. So religious people focus on outer things, and relationship people focus on inner things, meaning that the heart and the mind, those are the things that Jesus focused on. Religion to me has never saved anyone, because religion is caught up in tradition and rituals. And I remember, I forgot the pastor that said that. He said that tradition is frozen success that's passed down from generation to generation. But it doesn't mean that there's anointing in tradition and rituals. Because if the anointing is gone, then you're just doing a ritual. Religion will cause you to stick in rituals and lose sight of the fact of relationship with Jesus Christ. You know, for anyone out there, I just feel the need to say this, for anyone out there who used to be a believer and you have church hurt and you don't feel as close to the body of believers anymore, I would encourage you to really invest your time in studying the book of John. The book of John is all about those who are currently believing to continue to believe, and for those who don't believe, are new believers, to learn about Jesus. So I could go so much, so many directions with this, but yes, always pursue relationship, because relationship is what matters. Absolutely. That's what matters. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, many say they know that, but you got to truly understand it and walk in it and read his word and pray and connect and do all those things. But again, this conversation is challenging because we can go so many ways with this. And it feels like I'm rushing through. So we may have to have a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, who knows? This may turn into a series, y'all, but you know, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But I want to move on to purpose, even though we've been talking about purpose, but get a little deeper in purpose. And in order to walk in purpose, you have to stay in your lane. That's one of my favorite sayings that I not only say to people, but I say to myself. I even say to other cars on the road when they get out their lane. Well, I don't yell it because, you know,
Could you
please, you know, stay in your lane? You're kind of getting in my lane. Could you No. Get in your lane. No, I can't stand it. But I can't stand it until I get out my lane. I'm like, I'm sorry. Then I want grace, right? But no, when we're walking in purpose, you have to stay in your lane. And when you're veering off, when you're on the highway and I don't even know the form of term, the side, whatever the side is called, the side off of the main road is like they put bumps in it so your tires can, you know, kind of bump over.
No, when you're running off the road.
Like an alert, right? And so God does that to us, to me, I know, but to all of us, whether we hear him or not, all the time. And it's up to us to get back in or just get on off where you're not supposed to be. And so I kind of want to park there and just talk about how hard or easy is it for you to stay in your lane. And when I say stay in your lane, I refer to it as purpose journey, because it's a journey, right? Until we leave this earth. But let's talk about your purpose journey, I guess you'll say, in your lane.
In my lane. Well, it took me a while to figure out what my lane was, first of all, because for many years, I was trying to fit in so many different lanes. And I guess we'll touch on it a little bit as far as coming from a different culture to this culture. But it was really hard for me to figure out my lane and who I was and how fast am I supposed to go, when I'm supposed to go. But once I got more in tune with the Holy Spirit, once I got more in tune with God and understanding that God took his time to develop me, to make me an original.
Yep.
Why am I spending the rest of my life trying to be a cheap copy?
Yep.
So it took me a while to really find my lane. But once I found my lane, and for those who are in your lane, you can relate to what I'm about to say. You move through life with a different level of confidence, not cockiness, not arrogance, but it's just like, you know who you are. And because you know who you are, it governs all of your decision making. It governs who you choose to be in partnership with. It governs who you in friendship with. So it took me a while to figure out where my lane was, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I found my lane, and I'm confident in my ability in my lane. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, with that, it's proof that you are, because with your platform, as I mentioned, everyone, she has an official, because it's not new. She's always had it, always lived it, but Kingdom Huddle is her platform. And even in her role as First Lady, AKA leader / servant of God, it's not what you would think would be her lane, because her personality is not to be up in front and to be in front of a camera and to have followers and all of that. So kind of talk about that, because you are operating, although you are kind of like, uncomfortable, but you're still confident because you know that it's your lane you're supposed to be in, right?
Yeah. Well, because first of all, I know that it's not my idea.
Yeah.
It's not my idea. And because I work on being obedient at all costs, even though it may be uncomfortable, I understand that whenever you're chosen for an assignment, you need to step up. You need to step up. I'm not comfortable with social media. I don't even know what I'm doing, child. Half the time, I don't know what I'm doing. And if you all start following me or, going to my different social media handles that we'll talk about later on, you'll realize that this week, I just joined social media. Just joined. I used to be on a few years back, and I was really on only 6 months, and then I just turned the thing off because it was annoying. But but yeah, it's just like it's out of my comfort zone, meaning that I would rather be doing something else, but it's on assignment. So I take it as an assignment, and that's what I'm doing. So
it's social media can be a pain, it could be annoying, it could be a headache, but it can be an absolute blessing depending on how you use it and depending on how much attention you pay to certain things. But what we don't realize, like for instance, social light production is, I'm sorry, I thought the rain is storming on this side. Sorry, guys. Social light production is connecting the world through faith, culture, and entertainment. Well, sis, how can you connect the world and you here in Charlotte? You haven't even traveled over a year because of COVID. So how are you connecting the world? Well, we have technology, and that's the blessing in what we have, but it's been painted negatively because people are negative, right? But
yes,
we need more of us, more of Wilma's, more of Kingdom Huddles and that type of content to be able to affect the world. So I'm glad that you're back on, and I'm excited to see what you're going to produce and how you're going to affect the world. Yes. We have one question that has come in, and I want to address it before we move on to the next section. And it's a real good question. And I'm going to, put it towards you, Wilma. But how does one find their purpose, especially if you've been told that success in life is your purpose?
Well, first of all, like I stated before, your purpose is within you. One thing about God is he never starts anything without finishing it. Yep. So for me, it wasn't about me going on this purpose journey. It was more so me tapping into the source that created me. It wasn't my idea to figure out what my purpose journey was, because when you start going down that road, there's so many different, you got to be careful. Mm-hmm. You got to be careful because you have to go to the source. Society will tell you that success, marriage, children, that's purpose. But you have to be careful that you check in with God. And that's what I did. That's what I did, is that I didn't rely on anything but God to show me exactly what my purpose was. Did you want to add something to that, Janet?
Yeah, I mean, and it's challenging. This question is always a challenge because everybody doesn't necessarily hear from God the way we hear from God. But right. God is speaking, they just don't know how, right? So like God, sometimes some people say God has an audio, like an actual voice, like they hear. I've never heard that, because I would probably, he knows, don't talk to me like that because I'll be scared, right? I may run and jump dramatic.
Right, right.
He speaks to me like in my language and in my voice, or through my gut, or through things, right? Whereas others, they, like I say, hear the voice. Others, they may just get a feeling. I've had people say they just get a feeling, but when you consistently get that feeling at certain times and it's confirmed, then you start to follow that track because that's God, right? But it's just challenging because not everybody is as confident in the direction because they don't know if God is speaking to them. But when we speak,
well, let me give you an example of this, maybe a little more practical example. Mm-hmm. When I was trying to figure out who I was, what my lane is, what I'm supposed to be doing, I just went back. I took a moment and did an inventory of my life.
Yes, I remember.
From childhood, what was I always interested in? Because the thing about life is it leaves you breadcrumbs to figure out who you really are. But like Janet said, if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss those little cues. And children, it's so crazy how adults are quick to dismiss a child. But children have a way of telling you who they are if you're paying attention. So for me, I went back in my memory to think about what was some of the things that I was always passionate about, that I always loved, that's never changed, that I could do without a paycheck. That it's like, it's so easy for me where other people is like, they got to go to school for it. You know, they have to study. So that was a way for me to really own the fact that, oh, well, maybe instead of me trying to talk myself out of this, instead of me trying to make excuses for it, feeling like it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And what I'm talking about is when I became an at-home mom after going to college, getting married, and now I'm at-home mom. So I'm just like, this can't be it. Like, I'm supposed to be a strong Black woman, educated. I got my degree. Now I'm supposed to be making some money, right? But no, when I went back in my memory, the reason why it took me a moment to own that identity is because I felt like it wasn't enough. So maybe your purpose is already before you. It's already in your heart. It's already in your mind, but you keep denying it like I did. So,
I mean, that is it. And even, you know, it's funny because you say, you know, with kids, you disregard or you put labels saying, you know, she's mouthy or she's bossy or you too nosy, you too inquisitive, you too this, you too that. And while that may be true, and you still have to kind of cultivate and, you know, get them on the right track, don't discredit those personalities, because that mouthy person turns into a lawyer or a politician or just whatever trade or occupation that they rock out, because that's what God put in them, right? But it's kind of hard to recognize if your child talking back. You ain't trying to say, oh, you have purpose. You better shut up. You know what I mean?
What? I got 3, so I know. What?
Like, no, we ain't talking about purpose today. We talk about purpose. Let me stop. I'll go too far. Anyway, but no, that was a good question. Let me make sure it's not any others. Okay, that was good. So,
yes.
Let me see real quick. Okay, so this next section, we're probably going to be on for a while. It's finding your identity between cultures, right? So, you know, real quick, I'm sorry, I lost my place. Yeah. So again, saying it again, a socialite production. We connect the world through faith, culture, and entertainment. Those are a lot of different cultures, and they're big buckets because it covers a wide variety of things. Sometimes we operate, our identity changes depending upon the culture we're in. Whereas, why can't you just be the same person in all of those cultures? Because you still, you know, represent who you are, who you truly are, no matter if you're at church, if you're at work, if you're, you know, at a important meeting. Of course, you adjust and you flex, but you don't have to smother one part of you because others may not be of that. That's how we learn it's diverse, all of that, right? And so the conversations that I had last month as it relates to LIB Perspectives conversation series, I started with my culture because it's like an introduction of my platform and of, you know, who I am. And so started with my culture because I sit in the middle, you sit in the middle. Wilma is going to talk about where she's from and everything. We didn't speak about that at the beginning, but we're in the middle of 2 cultures. And actually more than that, but just referring to ethnicity, we're in the middle of a Liberian and American culture. And growing up, that used to be challenging. Now, you know, we figure it out, right? As far as just being comfortable. But I want to start off with that point, as far as your identity in between 2 cultures. Kind of talk about, Wilma, where you're from, and of course, coming to America, and then just finding your place as you kind of travel through.
Right. So if you watch the middle series, you know that I was born in West Africa, Liberia. My mother and I came to America when I was 8 years old. And of course, that was a huge culture shock. And I just didn't know, what to do, how to do it. And, the I didn't know. I didn't know how to navigate my way because truth of the matter is I didn't know who I was.
Mhm.
I saw myself as this is a title that I gave myself. I'm shy and I'm introverted and with that combination coming to a new culture, it's hard. It's hard for you to own who you are because as a child, every child just wants to fit in. And it took a while because I felt like, something in the Liberian culture, especially since I became Americanized, I felt like I wasn't Liberian enough. I wasn't African enough. And then I remember coming to America and having an accent and just praying, oh God, please let this go away. I was so happy when the accent finally left. So for me, it was a lot of shame.
Mhm.
It was a lot of shame, feeling like I just don't belong. I don't, I'm not good enough. And then the thing is, when you try to present yourself as who you think you are, and the world rejects it, your peers reject it. For me, I went back into a shell.
Mhm.
So it took me a while to be able to navigate through both. But now I truly can say is that I own being both American and Liberian. I love both culture. I wouldn't deny either one of them because, like I said, in the middle, Liberia gave birth to me, but America raised me. So they're both important to me, and both cultures are important to me.
Mhm.
And I remember this one culture shock that I want to share. When I first came to America, um, there's different ways that people live and different things translate differently. In Liberia, growing up, respect is a big thing. Respect is a big thing. Even if your cousin is 1 year older than you, you're supposed to address them with the title cousin Janet,
Yeah.
cousin so and so.
Yeah.
And then another thing that was really big to show respect was, as a child, you're not supposed to look an adult in the eye because it was a sign of respect. Like, but what wrong with her?
So
It's like they start getting mad, thinking like you trying to be
balance.
disrespectful if you look a Liberian person in the eye, especially back then. I'm sure things have changed. But coming to America and me applying what I thought was normal to this new society, and this new society see me labeling me as, oh, she's not confident. No, it's not a confident issue. I was trying to show you respect, so trying to navigate, there's so many rules to navigate through. But yeah, that was pretty much my experience coming from Liberia to America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And me being born in America, so you were born in Liberia, you said America raised you. I was born in America and Liberia raised me, in which Liberia raised you too, because you lived with us and others, and your mom and stuff. But it was just interesting because being in the house, we ate African food every day, rice every day, and trust, it's delicious. But I
Good
don't care
food.
how good something is, you get tired of eating it every day. Can I have a hamburger? Can I have some French fries in school? That's what we eat. You know what I mean?
Right,
And so
right.
it's funny because some things we didn't find out about until we went to school. And then I remember one day it was chicken and dumplings. I was looking at it and I was like, I'm sorry, what is that? And I think it was a little girl. She was like, "What do you mean? That's chicken and dumplings." Kind of like, duh.
Mm-hmm.
Back then I was quiet, so I didn't respond. But I'm like, well, I had never seen that before in my life. You know what I mean? But just different things like that. And so one of my cousins, and I'm gonna go to the next topic from here, but she summed it up perfectly. Let me make sure I get the quote correct. She said, growing up, she was too African to be American, and then she was too American to be African. But now that she's older, she's a perfect blend of both. That's my cousin Lovey Dunbar. Shout out. I'm using your quote, cuz.
Yay,
But
yay.
it summed it up perfectly. You know what I mean? You just didn't
Yes,
know
it
what to
did.
be. But now I'm a perfect blend of both. Hate it or love it, understand it or not, this what you have. So
Right,
I know my identity within the middle culture, right? And so the next
right.
we'll go to is identity in faith culture. And we're probably going to have a whole nother side piece
Yeah.
on that, in which it will come eventually. But how did you find your identity, just as a Christian in church, outside of church, but then especially too in your current role as a servant and a leader?
It's okay. I'm a first lady. People refer to me that. I'm not offended by it, but
Yeah.
I'm not like wearing that
Yeah,
title.
got
That's
you.
all I'm saying.
Got you.
But how did I find my identity? I remember trying to figure out what I was supposed to do in this new season that God had me in. When my husband and I, he's been the pastor for Flint Ridge East Baptist Church in Marshville for about over 2 years now. And I remember just trying to figure out, okay, what is my role? And I remember praying and God saying that in this season, I don't want you to take on anything, because automatically you assume first lady, or you're going to be over the women's ministry, or you're going to do with children, or you're going to, for the first year or so, I forgot, maybe 6 months to a year, I didn't do any of those things. God said that in this season, I just need you to be beside your husband. I just need you to pray, not necessarily walking beside him, but just having his back, you know? So it took me, because I felt grounded and rooted in who I was, it wasn't really a hard transition for me, because it wasn't something that I cringed. I actually, God showed me and my husband in leadership years ago before we actually took that position. So I had embraced that. My husband was still getting to that point, but he has fully embraced his role. But for me, church can be tricky. Church can be tricky to navigate. I remember when I first got to the church and being a first lady, there's a seating. Okay, first lady is supposed to sit up front. Okay, all right. So at first I was comfortable with it because my boys were sitting beside me. Clay was preaching, but at least I had my boys beside me. Then they started getting involved in church and singing in the children's choir or doing ushering. And here I found myself sitting on the bench by myself. And I felt like, what in the world is going on? Like, I mean, I promise you I washed. Like nobody was sitting next to me. But it's like this unwritten code that, oh, the first family is separate from everybody else. And I'm so used to, I believe in true leadership is leading from among the people, not above the people. Yeah. So it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment, but I love our church. I love our people because they get who we are. They understand that we are servants. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love your church family. Every time we go, we feel like we are part of the church. So you guys are doing a good job over there at Flint Ridge East Baptist Church. Make sure I say that.
Yes.
Yeah, I would. We're getting close to time, so I'm going to kind of skip over that. But you're frozen. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's going in and out.
Yeah, we'll just work through it. This technology is kind of acting up, but I can hear you and see you now. Hopefully, you can hear and see me. So let's talk about your identity in motherhood. So not only, in motherhood, you know, you have 3 handsome boys. I remember your journey. And I remember your journey. But just kind of talk through that a little bit.
Yeah. Like I said, at the core of me is a nurturer. I always knew I was going to be a mother. I always wanted to be a mother. But just because you always know that you want to be something doesn't mean that it's easy. It wasn't easy. And just forming my identity in the fact that, like I said, for many years, I apologized for the fact that I was a at-home mom, or I try to make excuses for it, like, well, you know, until so-and-so go to school, then, you know, but I really developed I understand that my identity is so critical for their development. It's so critical that had I not had the opportunity to be an at-home mom, because I'm not the type of person that feel like I can have a child and just drop the child off and continue with my life. No, I have to invest in that child. I am their guardian and I have a role and a responsibility. So every day I understand that I'm teaching them something about the way that I act, the way that I dress, who I am. I'm teaching them, because people will always watch you as opposed to listening to what you're saying. Yep. So I try to live upright before my kids, and my identity, I embrace it that I am here to make sure that they know who they are and that they at least know who the source is. It's up to them to make the decision, but I want to introduce you, and it's up to you to go from there.
Absolutely. You know, and it's so unfortunate that stay-home mothers are made to feel like, some feel worthless, if I'll be honest with some of the conversation, and others feel like they're not operating purpose or they need to be doing something. I'm like, you are raising a whole person or persons, multiple people. Do you not see the value in that? And sometimes it's not other people making them feel that way. It's them, you know, the lies that they tell themselves or allow the enemy to tell them. Because
Yeah, but it's not even necessarily the enemy, because when you think about value, you think about price. And there's no price that's put on a mother that stays at home, because you literally, it's like you're never off the clock.
you're not.
You're never off the clock. And if you are fortunate enough to have family and friends to jump in to take the kids so you can have a moment, but not everybody's in that position. So it's not necessarily that society is the way that the fact that there's no value placed on a mother. We don't receive any payment in the sense that other people would receive. Like, we value doctors because it's like, oh, he's a doctor. Everybody wants to be a doctor and a lawyer because they see value in their income and their status.
Yeah. Versus seeing value in raising and shaping and grooming and producing a future leader or a future doctor or lawyer. But no, there ain't no value in that. There ain't no value.
Right.
I know you're not saying it, but it's just, it sounds so silly when you actually start to talk it out, right? In reference to, why do you feel worthless? You know, you have the best job in the world and the hardest job in the world, right? But that's why you have your helper. But anyway, so the last part we're going to go to is your identity in marriage. And I'm going to touch on identity in singleness, but I'm going to start with you. And I'm laughing already internally, because if I could just share this quick little story, Clay, hopefully you don't mind. If you do, get Wilma, excuse me. But so when Wilma got married, you know, everything's, you know, she good, right? But we have always had cousins gathering. Either we have a cousins gathering or cousins sleepover, right? And so this particular,
we're a bunch of ladies, by the way, bunch of women cousins.
And so this particular time, it was at Frankie's house. And so, you know, Wilma told her husband, oh yeah, you know, we're going to cousins gathering, sleepover, whatever. And so Clay was like, cool, all right, I'll see you later. And Wilma was like, I thought, you know, it's a sleepover. But long story short, it was a kind of, not a disagreement, whatever, she'll add to that, but it was like a disagreement. And I'm laughing because you're married now. I'm not saying that you can't spend the night over your cousin's house or somebody else, but you were still in the mindset of being single and can just do whatever and thinking your husband will be okay with it.
You're frozen right now. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, there's a delay. It's a weird thing going on, but we'll work through it. But it's just funny because you're married, you're taking care of home, but you're assuming that, okay, I can still do the same thing. No, it's an identity crisis now, because you have to figure out, how can I still have a relationship with my family, but still honor and respect my husband in this marriage? So anyway, I want you to talk on finding your identity in marriage.
Yes, like I'm glad that you say it's an identity crisis, because you can have identity crisis when everything is good. You can have identity crisis. It's just more so identity crisis comes when change comes, you know? So this new change, like you stated, like it's a shift. It's a shift. You are with somebody who you now have to grow with and learn and do different things, and you have to shift. I remember that situation, and he was just like, "Oh, but yeah, you can go. I don't have no problem with you going, but you coming back home, right?" I'm like, no. But he was like, no, yeah, you come back home. And really during that situation, I felt like, okay, I feel like something's rising up in here, and I'm just like, do I buck at this? Or, I mean, what do I do? And then also on the other end, I'm feeling like, oh, I got to tell my cousins, I don't know if they're going to understand. I don't know what they're going to think of my husband and all these different things. But I ended up telling you all, of course. And the reason why is because I had to pray for a moment, because the fact of the matter is I signed up for this. And what I took as, oh, you trying to control me? No, God said he is loving you. He loves his wife and he wants his wife beside him. There's nothing wrong with that, So I had to redefine what I felt like I could or could not do. And that's what partnership is all about. You have to be considerate of other people's feelings, and you have to be able to navigate between those things. Not saying that I always got it right, but in that situation, I knew that I was supposed to be with my husband. Absolutely. Even though my heart was burning at times, I'd be like, here, oh God, I want to go.
You had to leave.
And, it's like I keep saying bye, goodbye, but I'm still there because I still want to hang out and things like that. But there was a shifting that happened in my life, and I had to decide, am I going to shift with it, or am I going to buck it? I decided to shift, so yeah.
Yep. That I always think about that. And, your situation, are you frozen? Can you see me, hear me?
No, I can see you.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, all of these experiences and examples, it sticks in my mind. I say our mind in our circle, but because it already prepares you how to shift and what, to consider or whatnot. But, as far as finding identity, as a single, it used to, I'm sorry, make sure I don't have a question coming through. It used to bother me because when you're single, everyone is asking you, when are you going to get married?
Right.
That's one of the reasons why I keep who I date to myself, or to, just because the pressure of marriage is there, not realizing that person you're dating may just be someone you're dating. It may not be, and so when I used to do, as far as my identity is, I'm walking forth with the purpose of finding somebody and making sure he, hoping that he's my husband so I can get married and have kids, so I can satisfy society.
Right.
So I can stop getting asked questions, which you never stop getting asked questions, because after you get married, it's when you're having kids, when you're having another child, when you have another child, and then when you have too much, why do you have so many kids?
Right. It's never ending.
Never ending. And so, just learning to understand purpose. And I'm going back to purpose. And this is like, this concept has really helped me to walk on my purpose journey with confidence, without anxiety, without being anxious. I remember I used to go out with the hopes of, oh, I hope I meet somebody. Now I just go out, oh, I hope I meet purpose. Whether that's somebody, food, whether that's a good conversation. I'm not out. It's no way to, it's just not a good way to live life. Whether you're looking for a man, whether you're looking for money, all of this stuff, just walk in purpose. As I say all the time, amongst my circle, is if I'm on this road here, and this is the road that God has designed for me, whoever is supposed to see my eyeball, as my mom used to say, my eyeball will meet them. You know what I mean? Everything. And everybody I meet on this road is not my husband. But we confuse people that we're supposed to get to know. And maybe you'll be attracted to date with your purpose part. No, that's an experience. That's an assignment. But everything that is supposed to see me and meet me, career, husband, opportunity, money, it has never passed me by. And even challenges. Because if I'm on this road and God designed it for me, whatever challenge that's on that road, he's going to equip me with what I need to smash it, to conquer it. But when we veer off, not saying that you won't be successful, but you have a harder time. Right. So anyway, that's how.
Let me add something to what you were stating, because I think that we need to be clear on something. We just recently had a singles brunch at our church, and I defined what singleness really means from a biblical standpoint. And there's a difference between being single and being unmarried. Being single and unmarried is not the same thing, because the biblical definition of singleness is being separate, is being unique, and being whole. Being separate, being unique, and being whole. We all should always strive to be single, regardless of if we're married or unmarried.
That's good.
I'm still single. Why? Because I'm separate, I'm unique, and I'm whole. So I just want to point that out.
And that's good because you have your own identity. Yeah, you're
Right.
married and you're one with your husband, but you still have your own identity. You still have your own purpose.
Right.
So anyway, we can go on and 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 on with this.
Yes.
One thing, real quick before we wrap up with the last question, you touched on, so we had a conversation before the conversation, which is always good. But you touched on identity roles like mentors and I believe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
This is maybe a takeaway for someone. This is something that helped me to really define my identity. I believe that you need to have 3 defined roles in your life where you play. The first role, I believe that you need to be like sort of like a mentor. You need to have people or an individual who you're pouring into. They're coming to you seeking wisdom. You know, that helps you with your identity and your purpose. And then the second group or second individual that you need in your life are people who are on the same level as you. So like the Bible said, iron sharpens iron. Janet, my cousins, I always talk about my cousins because we are on the same level and we're there in each other's corner saying, girl, go do it. You got this. You know, we're reminding each other of who we are and saying that you got this. We're the people who are on your same level. They're not draining you. They're not sucking from you like the people who are like not below, but you're mentoring. And then the third group of people that you need or person that you need in your life is a mentor. You need somebody who's a little bit ahead of the game than you are. Somebody who can say, you know what? I went down that road. There's a pothole. I wouldn't go that road. Somebody who can share their wisdom with you and you can just glean from them. Those 3 groups you really need to be connected with. And for me, praying for a mentor was something that I actively did for many years, for many, many years. I never felt like I physically got a mentor in my life where I can pick up the phone and call, or actually change that. Auntie Mildred was a mentor to me, but besides her and some other ladies I would get advice from, my true mentors came from individuals I've never met, individuals that I may not ever meet. You know, they mentor me through their books. They mentor me through their YouTube channels. They mentor me through their interviews, through their sermons. One person that I want to really mention is Bishop T.D. Jakes. I went to his women's leadership conference when I was in college many years ago, but I've never really met the man. But when I say that this man mentored me in a time, I discovered Bishop T.D. Jakes, I believe, when I was in junior high or high school. And it was a critical time for me because at that time I was searching for a positive male role who was mature, who could speak into my life and tell me who I was. So Bishop T.D. Jakes definitely was that mentor for me. He still is. I've never met the guy. I pray that one day I'll be able to meet him to tell him to his face how much he meant to me and means to me. He was a father to me in the time where I needed a wisdom and guidance. So those 3 areas, I think that if you really have those, your identity will be within that. Your purpose will be within that.
Yeah. Mentor, mentee, accountability partners, all those are important. And it's funny because people will always say you need a mentor. And it never felt right to say, okay, let me identify one person. But what I realized is I have just so many mentors in different seasons, right? I have the same core, like Frankie, my older sister, Frankie, my mom, those were my first mentors. Tanya, she was just my sister who we used to fight.
Yes, Lord. Poor Tanya.
Poor Tanya.
Poor Tanya, yes.
You know, we're gonna have another conversation about being in the middle. Literally, Clay, my husband, is gonna join me on that conversation because y'all don't do the middle kids right, but that's another conversation. So no, real quick, not to call out all of the many mentors I have, but when you mentioned T.D. Jakes, and you're speaking about identity. He has a book, and I hope this is the title of the book, called Crushing, turning grapes into wine. And you know, that process, you got to crush it. But some of us, God has moved into a different season / a different lane. And so now we're supposed to be fine wine, but we still have grape mentality. That thing stuck out. So every time we're talking,
That's
like
good.
keep each other accountable, like you being the great, you being the great, you are out of that season, you being the great, you being petty.
Right.
You can't take
Right.
petty into this season.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
anyway,
Right. Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna, this has been great conversation. I was trying to keep it within an hour since it's just one-on-one, but it looks like it's gonna be 90 minutes again. But thank you guys for hanging with us. Hopefully you're enjoying it. I am, if you're not. But I was so excited when God put this topic, what started as a simple conversation, and I heard identity crisis, and then I heard Gito, which is Wilma, but I heard the name Gito, and I was like, okay, well, let's have this conversation. I thought it was going to be a panel, but it's one-on-one. And the reason why I didn't know that she was officially launching her platform this week. So what perfect opportunity for her to come on and speak about something that we talk about all the time, but then also to introduce her platform. A socialite production is to elevate. So if I have a guest on, or if I just want to have someone on to promote something, that's what I'm going to do. So when people say shameless plug, this is not a shameless plug. This is informing you to go and follow Kingdom Huddle. Not for fame, not for any reason other than to get good content and to get fed. So I'm going to pass it over to Wilma just to talk about the concept, the vision of Kingdom Huddle, and why now, and why should people follow you?
Okay, thank you. Well, Kingdom Huddle. Kingdom, of course, we've been talking about kingdom. And one thing that I noticed when I read the Bible, especially the New Testament, is Jesus always talked about the kingdom. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get back to that conversation of the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And Huddle, when Huddle came about when we had Vacation Bible School at our church, VBS. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't want to use VBS because I felt like that was an old terminology and people really can't relate to what that means. Mm-hmm. So I took a moment and just kind of sat and I was like, well, if you break church down to its core, it's really meant to be the huddle. Mm-hmm. It's really meant to be a place where people, if you think about sports, where people can gather and they can come up with strategy and they can motivate each other and they can celebrate each other and then take the strategy that they got in that huddle and go out into the world. That's really what the church is supposed to be about. Yeah. So that's where the Kingdom Huddle concept came from. But this is a concept that initially I thought it was just for VBS, but God kept saying, no, I want you to keep doing it. So after VBS, I did a Zoom with the youth because I want to stay connected with them. And my goal in the Zoom was to give them strategy for the up and coming school year. And that was so awesome. The kids loved it. And I thought that it was over with. And God's like, no, you still need to. So that's how I continue with it because I felt like there was still work to be done. I know that this is bigger than a social media platform. I know that it's much bigger than a YouTube or whatever. I know that God is going to, what I foresee Kingdom Huddle becoming is conference, seeing conference all over. I foresee having workshop for youth. I foresee seeing like summer camps. I foresee seeing the Kingdom Huddle in every community where people are coming together, where it's going to be a safe place for kids to get them off the streets, to get their mind right. Because Kingdom Huddle is all about the mindset. In order to be able to know your identity, you have to deal with your mind. Your mind is the foundation. So the goal of Kingdom Huddle is to get us back focused on the things that really matter and get our mind right because so many people are messed up. So that's what I foresee Kingdom Huddle going. I know that it's bigger than me and it's not about me. Just like in the Bible where God chose Moses. I don't know why God chose me for this assignment, but actually I know why. He told me why. I'm not gonna lie. He told me why. Because the thing about it, like I said, he knows that my heart is right. My heart is pure. He knows that I'm not trying to chase him for any benefit or to use him. He can trust me with this assignment. So God has trusted me with this assignment because it's not about me. It's about those who need it. So
absolutely.
So, yeah.
And one thing we forgot to touch on when you were talking about staying in your lane and operating in spaces where you're not where you didn't think you would be operating is your master's degree. You went and pursued a master's in a field that you had no clue as to why, what was it, master's in what?
Child, master's in ministerial leadership.
And this is
I
before
got that degree about 5 years ago.
before there were any talk about a church, about a first lady, about a Kingdom Huddle. And you just, when you talk about purpose and staying in your lane, even if it makes sense or not, God was preparing you.
He was preparing me. I remember it so vividly. We were at a different church at the time in Concord First Assembly, and I was sitting in the back of the church. And I think I had my youngest child, Josiah, he was an infant, and he was in the church with me. And I remember it's like when God spoke it, it felt like fire in me, like I couldn't wait to get out of church. I was like, what? What? I was so excited to get this degree. And here's the thing, I'm in class with people who are well-established ministers, who have a congregation, who looking for me. Nobody was trying to check me out to say, come speak or come teach, or we want you to be on our staff. But I knew God said, do it. And it's almost like when you have a vision from God and an assignment for God, that assignment almost possesses you to the point that you go to sleep thinking about it. You wake up thinking about it, and it doesn't make sense to nobody else. And at certain times I had to just be quiet. Like my cousins didn't even know that I was in grad school. Certain people just didn't know, because I felt like I was trying to explain my way and make it make sense. Because the first thing is, what you get a degree in a degree doing masters, and you're not gonna get a job in that. I wasn't searching for a job. I was searching for purpose. So when you're on purpose driven, when you are purpose driven, it's lonely. Sometimes, I'm telling you, it's lonely sometimes. Certain things that God will show you is so bigger than you, that it's just like, I can't share this with nobody. They're gonna think I'm crazy, and it's just like certain things that your purpose will pretty much possess you to the point that you become a servant to that purpose. You have to do it. You have to do it. So yes, I went to school and got a degree in a degree that right now to this day I'm still not getting paid for, but I'm walking in purpose.
Yep.
So yeah.
Trust, as you keep walking, it will see your face. But the fact that you're chasing purpose, everything that you think that money is going to give you, you're getting. You already have that, just in different ways. And I know that sounds like a cop out or just like a cover up, but really, you can have all the money in the world, but it can't buy favor or provision. There are people trying to get into doors that you can't buy, boo.
Oh, telling you.
I mean, it's reality. And so again, this don't mean don't get money. I am not saying that at all, because everybody has their purpose. But God, that's a whole other conversation. Let me So, but no, I love how you all your life, pretty much, you have just walked in obedience, and you have been an inspiration to all of us. And before I close, there was one last question. I don't think there are any others, but what does Gito mean?
Gito means God's gift. In Africa and a lot of different countries too, but a lot of times parents will name their children based on situation, just like the biblical times, based on situations that they might have been experiencing or something that happened during their pregnancy or whatever the case may be. But names were given based on meaning. So my name means Gito. My name is Gito, which means God's gift. My mother was a teenage mom when she gave birth to me. And there was a lot of things that she had to overcome and struggle with her identity. And she felt like this was not a blessing from God. And eventually she had this dream. And in the dream, pretty much it's pretty much saying that if you have the baby and the baby uses the restroom, then your baby will live, And when she woke up from the dream, in the dream, the baby used the bathroom and the baby lived. When she woke up from the dream, she finally realized that, wait a minute, this whole time, this thing, this baby, this child that was within me, I'm thinking it was an interruption to my life. I'm thinking that, this is a curse on me. that I realized that from this dream, God is saying that this is my gift to you. So she named me God's gift.
Love it.
And that's my first name. So my first name is Gito Wilma Parker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. When I first found out the meaning of your name, I just thought that was just so special. So it just makes you wear your name with pride. Because, sometimes with African names, and kids not understanding how to pronounce it or what it means, you may feel, some kind of way, but not when it's something that's backing that name up. So anyway, this conversation, I really want to keep going on. This has been, and it's funny because we had a conversation to kind of just prep, and this conversation is even more, enriched and expanded from what we talked about before. But I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, and want to thank my cousin Wilma Gito Parker for stepping out on faith, right? And for joining me in this conversation. And this will not be the last. So like I said, again, y'all gonna know the mission of Social Light Production before the end of this conversation, but it's connecting the world through faith, culture, and entertainment. Today we touched on the faith bucket, and I can definitely see Kingdom Huddle making reoccurring appearances to talk about whatever issue as it relates to faith. But I hope you guys enjoyed this time. I want to give a shout out again to Flint Ridge East Baptist Church in Marshville, North Carolina, under the leadership of Pastor Clay Parker and Wilma Gito Parker. If you guys are interested, they do have a Facebook page. Like I said, it's a great at-home feel to it, and Pastor Clay always give a real word. He married his match because both of them are just authentic and pure, and I love them both. Social Light Production, you guys follow the platform. There's so much more content to come. It's just exciting. There's other things to come later. It's exciting. Just follow to keep updated on what's going on. So that's it for tonight. But before we close, I'm going to give Gito the last word, and we'll end today's conversation.
Okay, so my last word takeaway for everybody is that please remember that comfort can be an enemy to your purpose. Because I was comfortable being in the background. I mean, my life is good. I married a great man. I love him to death. I love my children. I love the ministry that God has placed us in. Everything is good. Even with a one income household, we haven't missed a beat, and you wouldn't even know that we only operate on a one income household. So God has blessed us. So I was in a state of comfort, and God sent some voices to me through family members, friends, people that I knew, they know God. And it was confirming voices. It wasn't like they had to convince me of anything. It was confirming voices that said that it's time to step out. Like, God is calling you for more. Like, you've put a period where a comma should be. And so that's what I'm doing currently. And I want to leave this. I like this statement. It says that to step towards your destiny, you have to step away from your security. To step towards your destiny, you have to step away from your security. Sometimes we are holding tight to our security blanket because it worked in the past, because we're comfortable. But be careful that you're not building a house where God told you to pitch a tent. And those who are biblical scholars understand this story from the Israelites in the desert, where they had to constantly be on the move. They had to pitch a tent. There are certain things that you might have to release that you've been holding a grip to, because those things are keeping you from your purpose. It may be your money. It may be your status. It may be your fame, whatever it is. Yeah. God will reveal it to you. But I'm telling you, you have to be willing to step away from everything and understand that God is a God of change. And if he said, in this season, I need you to do this, if you're like me, be obedient and do it. Because it's not about you. It's about somebody who's hurting, who needs whatever it is that's inside of you. So that's what I have. You all, please do follow me. I'm learning social media, y'all, but I'm gonna act like I know. But please do follow me on Instagram at Wilma Parker 797 and Twitter at Wilma Parker 79. And of course, the Huddle, my YouTube channel. I just released a video. I encourage everybody, if you want to know a little bit about me and the Huddle, to go and check that video out. You can, the title of the video is, Are You in the Kingdom Huddle? Or you can type up Kingdom Huddle or Wilma Parker, and the video will come up because it's an intro to what to expect from my channel.
Yeah.
And my goal is every week to have some content for you. So continue to watch, because this is a journey. I'm excited though. I'm excited. And I thank Socialite Production for this. This is amazing. This is so amazing. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And just for clarity, it's Kingdom Huddle. Sometimes we refer to it as the Huddle. It's Kingdom Huddle, right?
It's Kingdom Huddle.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure they don't look up the Huddle, but because I want to make sure they find it. But what I'm going to do is, if someone has not done it already, I'm going to post the YouTube link into the live feed within the comments, so that way people can see it directly. And if you click on it, please subscribe.
Please like.
Yes. And if you don't, you know what? We're not even going to ask, because if you don't, you're going to miss out. So that's your loss. So
thank you.
But anyway, thank you guys. Wilma, I want to take a selfie with you to remember this moment.
Okay. All right. And make sure.
Face not. You ready? You ready?
All right.
Okay. We act like we're not live right now. Okay. Right. 1, 2, 3. No, I don't like this. No, hold on, wait, hold on. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for our living room conversation. More to come. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.